So I was looking on your channel because I just like wanted to see what maybe the lowest hanging fruit thing would be. And it's probably that I don't know anyone else that does super flat content. Like you are the self-proclaimed king of super flat, right?
Pretty much, man. It's a
Yeah.
lonely world.
Yeah, like I can't think of anyone else that does that. And I was like, okay, that's probably a good place to start. So the question that I had for you was just why did you pick it? Because it seems so lifeless, so barren, especially when you started in 2012. Nothing like it is now. Like, why did you pick Superflat?
I mean, to me, like it was always like a version of Skyblock built right into Minecraft. Because I remember back in the day when Superflat first came out, I think it was with version 1.0, like when they moved out of beta and into the full release of the game. Pretty sure that's when Superflat came out. And around that time, Skyblock was like hugely popular on YouTube. But there was no real like official version of Skyblock to follow. Like people kind of would just upload their own templates onto Planet Minecraft. And there was no like official designated like this is the Skyblock challenge. As far as I know, there was like a bunch of different versions of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when they released Super Flat, I gave it a shot in survival. I think I saw it on Reddit or something, and I didn't think I was going to spend like more than a week on it. But especially because at that time, villager trading hadn't even been introduced.
Right.
So you couldn't even get redstone. It was extremely limited back then. But then I decided to do a little let's play on it just because I didn't see anyone else doing it. It seemed like a novel little challenge. But then when they did introduce villager trading, all of a sudden it became like, wow, you can do almost everything you can do in the full game. It's just a lot harder. And then all of a sudden it was like really interesting, and I just kind of kept playing. And then before I knew it, a ton of years had gone by. I went to college and came back, and I still had my world, and I wanted to keep making content. And at that point, it was just like, why start a new world when I've got this super old historied world?
I think the one of the big qualities of your Superflat experience is that it has been so long, like 10
Yeah,
years, right?
yeah.
Like when you started it back then, was that at all in the cards of like, I'm gonna do this for 10 years, maybe 20 years?
I wanted to do Minecraft creation for that long for sure, but the world itself, I had no idea it would last so long. But in hindsight, it makes so much sense, right? Because if you think about the number one reason that someone has to update their world, it's because of terrain generation changing.
Right. True.
If
Yeah.
you like all of the YouTubers who had long Let's Play worlds, over the years, one by one, they eventually all decided to reset because over the years, you have to go further and further until eventually you're going out thousands of blocks just to get the new features.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with Superflat, the terrain is basically just never going to change, right? Yeah, that's like in hindsight, it makes so much sense why like I never had to stop playing it. But it wasn't something I had thought of at the time at all. Basically, my world can sort of be defined by a few periods of time, and it's like pre-college was when I was just like convinced I was going to be a YouTuber. Like I had gone to Minecon 2013 and met all these creators, and I just felt like I was on the cusp of like being a great Minecraft YouTuber. And then I kind of had to let a lot of those dreams go when I went to college and had to focus on school. And during that time, I just kind of lost inspiration for the world. Like I had like basically no idea what to do anymore. And so that was like the dark ages for my flat world. But then when I came back to content creation, mostly during the lockdowns during the pandemic, like something just clicked. It's hard to explain like why it happened, but I had basically just a lot of different projects in my world that were completely unconnected to each other, just sort of like single projects with no real story or lore tying them together in the world. And I decided to try and basically like link them all together into one cohesive city. And that's when like the inspiration just became infinite. Like, because once I did that, then I was just like, well, I can just keep expanding the city forever, basically. But it took that like idea to link everything together because until then, I was just kind of making different projects and they didn't have any sort of cohesiveness.
So yeah, walk me through that. When you had that dark age, as you call it, going to college. What brought you back to Minecraft? Why did you decide to reignite it?
Honestly, man, it was the desperation that comes with working a 9 to 5. I don't know if
Okay.
you can relate at all, but
Sure, yeah.
like I'm a very creative person, and part of that is just due to my experience in college. I worked at what's called a cooperative, and basically how it works is it's it's a democratic workplace. It's a workplace where there's no hierarchy. Everybody is a manager basically, and everybody has stake in the business. And when you want to make a decision for the business, everybody votes on it. There's no boss in charge basically. And it was just like, sort of a program that my university had. But it kind of ruined working for me forever. Like as soon, it was really, really fun working in this environment. And like, if you wanted to make a change for the business or you had a good idea, you could get the votes and get it done. And it was like super gratifying. And when the business was making more money, you were making more money. And so it just felt amazing. It was like the most fun I've ever had at a job, really. So then when I got outside of college into the more hierarchical workplace style where you have a boss and what they say goes, I just couldn't do it. Like I'm a very creative person, and if someone above me is telling me to do something that I don't think is a good idea, I have a really hard time listening to it just for the sake of like following authority. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I was just like, I was so desperate to just be able to have creative ownership over my work and my ideas. And like, yeah, I mean, that's really it. And so YouTube or being a content creator in general is just one of those jobs where you get pretty much full agency over your work and the decisions you make. So it was so appealing to me, and I just kind of became desperate to make it work. And that's honestly what guides a lot of my channel philosophy as well. I think like some people are kind of fine doing YouTube for a couple years and then like sort of cashing out, moving on to the next thing in their life. But I would personally prefer to do this for as long as possible, even if it means making less money, if that makes sense. So like I think some channels have a strategy more where, they'll follow the trends and get as much money as possible for a few years, and then their channel might kind of die out because the trends die out, and then that's fine. They kind of move on. But I would rather build up one of those loyal audiences
Right.
that will just watch me for, a decade to come. 'Cause even if I don't get rich that way, I still have that creative license. That's really the attractive part of the job, more so than the money.
Yeah, because when I was talking with Shovel about that, we were both like, if something happens to the game Minecraft, all of the guys that are doing 100 days Minecraft hardcore, really jacking into those trends, they're done because the game is very much tied to that content.
Right.
And maybe that's something that they recognize and maybe it's not, but I am much more in line with your view in that if something happens to whatever content you're making, you still have a loyal audience that likes you because it's you, not because of the game. Or, we are gaming creators, but like if you made content about anything, if something were to happen to maybe it's an automotive channel and like a certain car is really popular, but that company goes out of business, then people don't see that car anymore they like, and now they don't watch you. You want to have people that actually watch you and
Right.
for you only. So I can definitely relate to that. But also, I want to mention your point about the 9 to 5. Like, I am thinking about that every day, like every single day. Like, not that my job is horrible or anything, but I am like, wouldn't it be nice to do it full time?
Yeah, I quit way too early.
Oh, okay.
And it immediately worked out. I did the math. I mean, to be fair, the reason I was able to do that was because I did the math on how long I could go without making a dime and still be okay. And I had enough saved up from just my last couple jobs that I could make it about 9 months to a year. So that was a pretty solid cushion for me. And obviously, that's a major privilege. Like,
Right.
not every, I had the fortune of having parents that were able to help me a ton with my college tuition.
Right.
So
Same.
if that
Yeah.
hadn't been the case, then I'd have student loans to pay off. I could have never made that leap so early. Um, but then once I made that leap, the next month, the very next month where I quit my job, I immediately made probably the most money I've ever made in a month on YouTube. Uh,
Really? The first
yeah,
one?
yeah, it like, or maybe like 2 months after I quit, it was like, yeah, I had one of my best months ever. So it pretty much immediately paid off.
Nice.
Which I don't know that, I don't know that that's like a replicable experience. You know, I always caution people because I don't want to like encourage someone to follow the same path and then fall flat on their face, right?
Right.
You got to make the decision that makes the most sense for you in your life. But yeah, for me, it really worked out, and I'm super grateful for that.
I'm starting to look towards brand deals, right? And
Hmm.
I'm realizing one, how much money I've been leaving on the table by not doing them.
Yep, same,
But
same here.
but also just like when I have AdSense, yeah, like it's out of my control in a lot of ways. Like I didn't know a certain video would do well or not do well. It's just kind of is what it is. But a
Hmm.
brand deal is like, you're going to get paid because you did this integration with this brand and you'll get paid on this date and it's guaranteed, Like
Right.
it's such a level of security that I didn't know I needed, you know?
Yeah, it's scary, man. I mean, as much as I bash the 9 to 5, like the predictability of it is like it's really solid having like a set routine and it's really easy to budget when you know exactly how much money you're making.
As a creator, do you ever feel like you had to overcome that mentality that a lot of people have, that creators, like, it's weird if they feel like they're selling too much or they're monetizing their audience too much?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like traditionally I've tried to really avoid doing ads for things that I like don't personally like use. Basically what I've been hearing from some of the creators I've talked to who have done this for a long time is that it's really easy to say no and be like picky with these ad integrations when ad revenue is good. And then when YouTube's on a downswing and there's like an adpocalypse or Minecraft isn't popular in the search trends at the moment, then that's when all the regret starts to hit you. And you're like, okay, if I had just taken a few more deals, I wouldn't be struggling so hard. I wouldn't be thinking about having to go back to work at like, the office or something like that. Yeah, I'm having to come to terms with the fact that I'll probably have to do some integrations that I didn't want to. It's another part of the job. Like as much as this job gives you creative license, like at the same time, you still have to follow what's trendy, what does well in the algorithm. You still have to do these ad integrations at the end of the day, or you don't have to, but you should.
Well, it's interesting because I come from the perspective of someone that's trying to become full time but isn't. So when I get the offer of a brand deal, it's like especially difficult to say, I'll pass, because I'm like, dude,
Right.
this is like, I'm trying to like do this as a job. And like, if you're, for example, a very comfortable creator, you're making like 10 grand a month or whatever, like you probably have the ability to be more picky in that example. But
Right.
when you're like, and you mentioned like when ad revenue is going down, Minecraft isn't as popular, it's hard to justify not doing that, because then that might put in jeopardy your ability to do this job. And I think
Right.
ultimately your audience wants you to do this job. And I hope that people are becoming more okay with the fact that creators need to do this kind of stuff, partner with companies, because that's how we make our money.
That's honestly like I've heard this perspective from a lot of YouTubers where if they're at a certain level where they're making decent money with their job, they seem to not want to do Patreon anymore. Like there's a stigma against taking donations from your audience once you've reached like a certain size of your channel, right?
Right.
And I actually disagree with that a lot. Like ideally, I do these brand integrations, but then the Patreon's an opportunity for my audience to basically like get rid of those, right? Like if the Patreon can get big enough to where I no longer need to do brand integrations, that benefits my audience, right? Like you're no longer having to interrupt your video with this cumbersome VPN ad.
Right.
That makes no sense in the general flow of the video.
Right.
So I actually think that like ideally I'll do these brand integrations and just keep building up my Patreon, and then someday hopefully I won't need to interrupt my videos with annoying integrations because the audience can sort of supplement that. I actually think that's awesome because then you don't have to worry about what you might say in a video. You have full artistic license that's not being influenced in any way by what advertisers might want to hear or might
True.
want you
Yeah.
to say. And that's what makes YouTube so special, right? So I heavily approve of the crowdfunding model. I think it's the best way to preserve artistic integrity on the platform.
I do agree that Patreon has a bit of a connotation of being a platform for the fledgling creator, someone that's
Mhm.
just trying to get off the ground and finding some way to get like maybe a couple hundred, maybe a couple $1,000 a month to support them. But I do think that when it comes to things like YouTube channel memberships, for example, what Anthony Padilla does with his channel, there's no stigma to that. And people clearly are happy to donate to him because they know that a lot of his videos get demonetized for the topics he covers, so he needs that help. But
Right.
because it's not a Patreon, I think that people are more willing to support it. And maybe I'm off the mark there. Maybe it's not actually that deep, but I
I think
just,
you're right. I think you're right. Like
yeah,
there's almost no stigma with becoming a Twitch sub or like
right,
a
exactly, same
huge Twitch
thing.
streamer. But there is a stigma with a giant YouTuber having a Patreon. And
Yeah,
that's always been a little bit confusing to me. And I think I'd like to challenge that narrative. Because I love the crowdfunding model. I think it, like I said, it allows your a creator to be completely true to their values and not, because so many advertisers, if you say the wrong thing in your video, they'll pull the plug. It's funny because I do make a comfortable living, but I still have to keep pushing to expand and grow because I'm at this point trying to start hiring people and expanding, getting an editor, getting a manager, like trying to compensate people for the work they're already doing, because to be a YouTuber, you probably have a handful of dedicated mods who are doing
yep,
basically what should be paid work for free.
I know.
Um,
I
so
wish I could pay my Discord mods.
I know everybody does, right? But it's like almost impossible economically. Like it makes almost zero sense to do so. So even though I'm comfortable right now, I'm always trying to still push and expand because if I want to make my life easier on myself, then I need to hire people,
Right.
and for that you need a ton of money, ton of capital to throw around. So it's tough, man. The struggle continues even after you go full time. Something I wanted to talk to you about
Yeah.
is a comment I left on your video about like Minecraft videos. I can't remember the exact title, like about Minecraft content becoming like a little bit stale or needing to change.
Right.
Um, and you discussed a quote from another YouTuber. Was it Incy? I want to
Yes.
say
Yes.
yes. That like you took a different conclusion from it that I did, and I want to like hash it out and break it down with you because I found it so just like interesting.
Okay.
So I don't remember the exact, you probably remember the quote like a little better, but the gist of it was that Incy was saying that the video that did really well on his channel, um, he was saying within it that it wasn't quite the type of content that he wanted to be making, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that he felt like in order to gain an audience and then create the content he wants to be making, he first had to do that.
Yeah.
He first had to like follow the meta, follow the trends, and like do exactly what people wanted to see. And you were sort of challenging that. And I just want to break it down. I want to hear your opinions on it and then like share mine. And I think it's like one of the most interesting conversations to be had right now in Minecraft YouTube.
Yeah, and I mean it's not even just YouTube for Minecraft. I think this applies to anyone. So I believe the quote was something like, you first have to give the people what they know they like, and then you create what you want to make. You first have to like establish that audience." But I was using myself as an example where, I've gotten a lot of comments from other people like, I've never seen anyone do stuff like you with like the talking and the Minecraft cinematics, and this is like
For
totally
sure.
totally unique. And I was like, yeah, okay, like maybe there's something to this in that this didn't exist before, and it's something that people like, I guess. And so in that regard, I didn't make something first that I knew would work. Like I didn't start out doing 100 days because I knew that that wasn't me, and I knew that I had to do what was genuine to me.
Right.
And so I wanted to challenge his quote because he had made some video that got like a few 100,000 views, and it was more that stereotypical hardcore Minecraft video, and it did well for him, got a lot of views, got a lot of subscribers, but I could tell that it didn't like fulfill him, and he was acting like I need to find my voice first, and to do that I need to do what already works. And I was saying, I don't think so. I mean, it's obviously a lot harder to do something innovative because it's just like inherently hard. Like you don't even know what to look for, right? But
Right.
in the long run, I think that's going to be more fulfilling because when you do what you know you like, you don't have as much barrier to entry. There's not as much friction because if you're doing something that you don't like if you don't like making hardcore Minecraft videos, but you know they do well, every time you go to record one, you're like, oh God, I have to make another video. When that process could be something that is to be enjoyed by doing something that you actually like. Like I like making the philosophy talking videos because that's me.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it so much lately because I don't love like the style of content I kind of have to do. Like I more and more as time has gone on my channel, I've just been craving getting back to steady progress on my world. And I was finding that the videos that do well are those mega projects, the hardcore style, like I built
Yeah.
this massive,
Yep.
insane thing,
Yep.
right? And they're extremely taxing. To making those videos is like it is a grind,
Yep.
and it's not always what I want to be doing. I think they're really fun, but I really care about my world. And when I only build mega projects, I'm never building the small little paths between them or the little farms that make those projects possible or the little houses that just add to the world building in my world, you know?
Right.
And so I was getting super frustrated with that. And so the first thing I tried to do was 100 days. Because if you do 100 days, you're marketing the video on, you know, how much time you spent, not necessarily on I built this giant thing. And so that kind of gives you the freedom to do whatever you want during those 100 days. So that was like one thing that I was playing with, but it seems like that trend's sort of on the way out. And so yeah, I've been doing so much soul searching to try and figure it out. But when I think about it, and when I think about that Incy quote, um, like I was making the content I wanted to make for 10 years and I had zero results. Like I had one or two videos that did decent, but really, you know, 10 years, 5,000 subscribers, that was it. And then it all changed when I started doing the established format that people like and want. And I really related to Incy's quote. Like it sounded true to me. And I then wondered for your channel, like, what if you did like one or two of those videos that you don't want to do? Would you now be full time instead of like just trying to go full time? Like
Yeah.
it's like on my mind very heavily. I'm like wondering where that balance is, you know?
I guess you could say that I had a glimpse of that in that when I started out my channel, like the fifth or sixth video I did, I started reviewing mods.
Uh-huh.
And those videos now, a couple of them have like 300,000 or 400,000 views because that genre is proven to work. And
Right.
I didn't make those videos with that intention. I literally just made them because I wanted to like, hey guys, check out these mods. And because I was trying to build up that mod pack. But, you know, I could become the next Asian Half Squat, you know, the big Minecraft mod review channel that is predicated on doing mod reviews. And I assume he does it full time. And that's like his main thing is mod reviews. But like, I just don't want to do that, you know? And
Yeah, I feel you hard on
yeah,
that.
but I'm not like anxious about that because while I do have those few videos that got a few 100,000 views, my other videos, the one that's 1.7 million, How to Enjoy Minecraft Again, and then Nobody Cares, which is almost at 1 million views, those were both talking videos, which,
Mhm.
you know, you could say has become like my brand. So I have proof to myself that there are people that want to watch videos in that style and they can do very well. They're just really hard to do. Most of my videos get
Right.
more like 20 to 30,000 views.
They're so much more like hit or miss, it seems,
Yeah,
than other styles of content.
for sure.
You know, I will say, this is another thing I wanted to bring up is I saw a comment once on a meme. It was like it was a meme I think IBX Toy Cat posted in a community post, and it was like my reaction. It was like a one of those doomer Wojaks, and it was like my reaction when I see another Java hardcore Minecraft YouTuber build every biome or whatever.
Yeah.
And but there was a comment on the meme from one of his subscribers that said, you know, I actually really love how every YouTuber tackles these same concepts because you get to see how they all handle it completely differently. And that's where their personality comes through, is like seeing different people's approach to the same exact challenge. And I was like, oh, like that's actually really interesting perspective, like that I hadn't thought about. Like rather than the content simply being insanely repetitive and everybody's doing the same thing, like everybody's doing the same idea, but everybody has a slightly different style and take on it. And that's where the value is coming through for some of the audience members. And like that comment had a ton of likes on it. And I was like, oh, wow. Like it like kind of opened my eyes. So then I was thinking to myself, okay, like what would it look like for me to do an every biome video that felt like me, you know, like that felt like it wasn't selling out.
Right.
And like I haven't made this video, but if I were gonna do a video like that, like I would, instead of doing like a giant pizza pie where like each slice of the pie is like a different biome or something, or like, you know, each hexagon is a different biome, like I would just build full size Minecraft biomes and seamlessly transition them from one area of my world to another, which is kind of what I've now started doing for my like next project in my world, is like massively expanding the world and adding all sorts of different areas and stuff like that. And so that comment like kind of inspired me like in a huge way. And I was like, that's actually really interesting. Like, and so then when I was thinking about the INSEE quote that we've been discussing, I was like, maybe there is value in doing what everybody else is doing to start with, to find your voice. Like, what's your take on what everybody else is doing? And then you move from there. I don't know. It was a different way of looking at it that I hadn't really considered.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of merit to that idea because it's pretty unrealistic to expect that everyone is just going to be like the next Steve Jobs of
Yeah.
creation. You know, like
Right.
everyone is essentially a remix of someone else. Like I always compare myself to Laura's Bones with the cinematic Minecraft and
Mm-hmm.
Schlatt with the weekly slap and talking videos, and
Mm-hmm.
the blending of those two styles with my own voice and experiences. So you can't really say that anyone is really original, like truly 100% original. It's just how you want to take that medium and expand it, and like in your case, do a built every biome, but in the hexagonal, like in the super flat, building every biome, but in a super flat world. No one's done that, I don't think, right?
Right. Because like that's another thing I was thinking of, is like even if I do these same trends that everybody else has done, like mine's unique because it's a super flat world. Like
Yeah,
everybody's got that one thing that makes them stand out, or well, not everybody, but most people do.
yeah, yeah.
Or else I don't think the people that truly just clone every single trend have much longevity. Like from what I've seen, the biggest best creators on the platform all have at least a few things that make them really unique, whether it's their personality, build style, redstone skills, whatever it may be, you know, editing. There's a million different ways you can stand out. I will say, man, some people just know this platform on like such a deep level that I can't even like explain. Like,
Yeah.
I know for a fact of a few major hardcore YouTubers have moved on to other channels and have had incredible success. Like other channels in other niches other than Minecraft, and have had like immediate and insane success. And I'm just like, all right, you guys are on another level. Like, there are just some people who are born to do this, man. I swear.
Well, it makes sense because they're taking all the knowledge they've learned and applying it towards that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense in theory, but I mean, in practice, I feel personally like if I tried to start another channel, it would take me at least a couple videos to get cooking. Like, I don't think I could come out the gates with a 1 million view banger. And like, and I've learned so much about how this works.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, some people are just naturally algorithm gods or whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's a ton of luck involved with YouTube as well. Uh, I don't think like it's not the sort of luck that people maybe think it is. It's not like winning the lottery luck. It's more like right place at the right time
Right.
kind of luck, you
It's like
know?
it's like unknowable factors. Like,
Yeah. It's like if you have skills and you keep pushing, like you probably will see success, but that initial spark, that part I think depends on a little bit of lucky sauce. And there are some ways to kind of like jumpstart it. Like some people, like I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Ludwig has a video where he like starts a brand new channel, makes a brand new
Yeah, I saw
video.
that video. Yeah.
Yeah, and like so his way of doing it was to his way of juicing the algo was to have a streamer react to it. Like I think
Oh
when you
yeah.
make a new channel, like you need something. You need that little spark, and like that's the part I think takes a tiny bit of luck.
It reminds me of PewDiePie because he started doing nothing but honestly like not low effort, but definitely like low budget gaming videos.
Oh,
Like
by today's standards, it's definitely low effort, but
yeah.
yeah.
And like he has built tens of millions of dollars doing what he's done, but like he just happened to be the OG. He happened to be one of the first guys to be a gaming creator. And
Yeah, I mean,
I
the
don't
best
know.
analogy I can give for it is like Picasso, right? Like people who don't understand art history will look at like or maybe Jackson Pollock is a better example. Like people who don't understand art history will look at an abstract expressionist painting and be like, okay, my 4-year-old could make this.
Mhm.
And it's like, all right, but that's not really the point. Like, you know, Picasso was the first one to get people to take this seriously and get people to consider it as art. And, you know, he was just the first one to do it, right? There's value in inventing something.
Yeah, or like
And so
philosophers, like Aristotle coming up with like seemingly basic, obvious ideas by today's standards were probably revolutionary back then.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's another great way to look at it. So it's like, yeah, PewDiePie's content by today's standards is like incredibly low effort. And it's like, yeah, there's a million guys right now making the exact same videos PewDiePie did 10 years ago and getting nothing for it. But you know, you had to be the first one to do it. Like you had to, it has to be a novel concept still. I think there's going to be like a little bit of a pendulum swing back to some more casual style content because, you know, your channel's been doing well and making a splash. Like I've heard a lot of big creators talking about you.
Yeah, that was crazy to hear you say that. I never think about that.
Yeah, I've talked to you with a ton of people because like even if your sub count isn't like crazy stratospheric like some of these Minecraft creators out there, like you've done something different enough that it caught everybody's attention.
Right.
And so I think, you know, your channel's like a little hint of what might be to come. I don't think it's like exactly there yet. I don't know that we'll know it until we see it, like until the next dream comes along and has like an absolute banger
Right.
idea that completely revolutionizes the whole game again. But
It all depends on how you look at it and what your goals are. Because I think Dream, he had the desire to be like the ultimate Minecraft creator. He wanted to probably get a ton of views and like Mr. Beast, he wants to be the best.
right,
And
right.
and like I don't honestly have the craving for that amount of attention. I
Oh
feel like
yeah, I cannot relate to those goals. Like
no.
those are not my goals on YouTube.
Like I think if I wanted to become like a really big Minecraft creator, I mean it might be arrogant, but I feel like I would just figure it out somehow. But it's just not the goal. And I don't think it should be everyone's goal to be this like world domination creator. Like if what for you is financial success, for example, maybe 5,000 a month is good for you, 20,000 a month for someone else is what they need. And it's all in perspective of what you actually want to get out of it. And for me, the value will always come first. And like I never want to feel like I'm like hijacking a trend and making money off of that because I know it's not me.
So yeah, I relate to you a lot. We both get in our own way.
Yeah.
But like I mean that's like what makes you you. I love it.
Right. Well, what would you say your goals are then as the future comes?
How do I make enough money to be comfortable and happy, but not sell my soul and make a bunch of videos that I don't want to make, you know, still make stuff I'm proud of while continuing to do this for like ideally another decade. It's just like a crazy balancing act, really.
Yeah, but I mean, you have at this point gotten to the point where you can do it full time, so you're just more in like the expand stage, right?
Yeah, and the expand stage is rougher than I thought it would be, man. Like I've talked to now with a few people who have small businesses and they're like, "Yep, this is like you're having growth pains. That's like what you're experiencing." And it's like I have started paying my editor and I'm not really seeing more money from that yet, like,
Okay. Yeah.
or increased production times yet.
Right.
Because there's, we have to develop a workflow and a rapport, and so now I'm burning a bunch of money to try and expand the channel, and I haven't been seeing the dividends yet. So, like, that's kind of the stage I'm at with the business, and it's just like it's a stressful point to be at, but it's also like equally exciting.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, because there's so much potential. Like if I could just get my editor full time, then like, man, we could be, the two of us can create an empire. It's like we have that sort of like energy, you know what I mean?
Right.
When we talk about it, it's just like, it's just like a year away or more. I love this job though. I love talking about the logistics of it. I hope
Right.
people find it interesting
I
because like
know.
I know back before I did this full time, I used to love hearing about this sort of thing just because it's like the information's like not super available unless you just hear creators talk to one another about it. Like,
Right.
and it as it was always my dream job. So I just loved hearing people talk about this sort of thing. So I hope your viewers enjoy hearing about some of the logistics.
I mean,
I, don't-
maybe it's purely selfish reasons for me because I love hearing about it, and I'm just glad to hear you talk about it.
I mean, I think in general, like even my parents find it pretty
Oh, dude, my
interesting because
mom
it's
is so interested in the numbers.
yeah, yeah. Like I think even like people who don't even understand the content creation space find it interesting just because it's such a new industry. When you're on the cutting edge, it's just inherently intriguing. We're just relatively speaking, we're so early on in content creation when you think about it. Like I want to know what this industry looks like in like 40 years. We're probably all going to hate the way it turns out, but
I mean, I think it's so beautiful that it's available to anyone with an internet connection, though, and that anyone can do this if they want to. Like, I was just talking to my girlfriend about this. The amount of freedom that this has the potential of giving me is insane, and how trapped I would feel if the only way I could make money was from my job. Like, it doesn't have to be the only way. There are ways to, I mean, I'm not going to say escape the matrix because that's, kind of a bastardized term, but
yeah, it's like a dog whistle at this point.
yeah, but it's like a it's a way out or a way to a future that would not be possible without that medium, which is YouTube for me.
I
Yeah.
want that trend to continue. I'm worried that in the next like couple decades, capitalism will do its capitalism thing and figure out a way to take back that ownership from creators. That's my biggest fear with this industry. So uh, that's also another reason why I like talking about it so openly, is because I want to see this industry not change for the worse.
Well, that's the funny thing, man, is that when I've been talking with brands about integrations and partnerships and money and all the different ways that people make money, like merchandise, I'm like, how is this possible? Like, how is it that someone, just a normal person, can go from nothing to like huge income? Like, it sometimes feels ridiculous how much money YouTube is paying us, you know? Like,
Yeah.
it's not even remotely reasonable when you compare it to other industries. Like, I often am thinking about the people that work like 10 or 12 hours a day doing construction, and they make like 20 bucks an hour, and they can like barely feed their family, while creators
Right.
make absurd amounts of money. And that's not through any fault of their own. It's just kind of like how monetizable that industry is. But it's like,
Right. And
this
it
is
well, and
crazy.
it just speaks to how underpaid I think other industries are, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I think YouTubers I firmly believe content creators deserve every cent of that. Like I do not
Yeah.
think a single content creator is under or overpaid, to be honest. Like because you're generating that value. Like why should YouTube or Twitch be taking it? Like you're the one making the content. It's yours, man. Take it. Like in the same way that like a construction worker builds a building, like he should have whatever percentage of that building he built. That should go into his pocket. Like, I understand why things don't directly work that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like in theory, like as much of the labor value you're creating as possible should hopefully come back to you. And yeah, I'm worried that companies are going to find a way to take that away from creators. And I sometimes I think people are like, oh man, like look at how much you make like doing a job like you said, like construction, like that doesn't speak to how much content creators are making. That more speaks to how little other jobs are making.
Right.
So like I think like if anything we should see other jobs like raise their pay to match, right? Because if everybody's if there's no incentive to go work at a real business anymore and everybody's just trying to be a content creator, like
Right. Yeah.
then that's the market. Like the companies need to pay their employees more. But I mean, it's so interesting, man. Like, will there ever be like a content creator union? That's something I've been thinking about
Right.
with the strikes going on across the country right now. With especially because it's like Hollywood, right?
The writer
And
strikes.
that
Yeah.
yeah, it's like SAG-AFTRA and the writer strikes, and so that's like all of Hollywood right now is grappling with like all these new technologies with streaming and AI,
Right.
and it's not happening for content creators because we're all sort of just independent. But I'm like, man, at what point does there need to be like a content creator union? Like someday it's gonna happen. Like someday there's gonna be like big moves in this industry, and things are gonna start changing. So I'm just interested to see how it all plays out.
I would argue it's really only been about a decade that people have been able to really make businesses on their own and quit their 9 to 5s, and like people really recognize the power of YouTube. And
Yeah,
when
I
you
feel like it was that like 2011
yeah,
era was like when the Shmoyohos and like the Smoshes
Smosh, yeah, I
started
was gonna
like
say that, yeah.
becoming like actual businesses all of a sudden, and it was like, oh wow, like this is an industry now. It's not just people singing in their room. Like,
Like on on this timeline of everything, 10 years or 12 years is absolutely nothing in
oh
terms
yeah,
of a proven industry. And
right.
I,
It's like if you went back to 1910 and like took a look at the movie industry, like
right,
nothing
exactly,
it's
yeah.
nothing's formed yet. It's like Charlie Chaplin isn't even a thing yet. Like
Yeah, or like Mr. Beast is Charlie Chaplin.
right, yeah. Oh man, I wonder if anyone's ever drawn that comparison in the history of the world before Mr. Beast and Charlie Chaplin.
I mean, when Mr. Beast went on Joe Rogan, he talked about how a lot of people who don't traditionally watch YouTube, older people, started to recognize him, be like, "Oh, you're that guy from Joe Rogan." And like in the same regard, Charlie Chaplin might have put the movie industry on the map, like how Mr. Beast has put YouTube on the map for a lot of
Right,
people.
right.
And obviously, I mean, YouTube has been a thing way longer than Mr. Beast has been popular, but it's still like he has elevated the entire platform. And I don't know. I mean, there are people like that every once in a generation that do that for the platform. There's a financial channel I watch called Financial Audit. Really, really entertaining stuff. This guy Caleb basically brings on someone and talks about their finances, their bad financial decisions, and it's like an hour long thing, and he gives them like a score, like things to improve and all that.
Oh, interesting.
But people have started hinting that it's really entertaining and it's making him loads of money. But eventually, people will be they'll know exactly what they're getting into when they load up one of his videos, and the format
Hmm.
will have been kind of stomped into the ground. Like there's only so many stories until you know, don't overspend on your credit card. Like don't eat out $1,000 a month, in food or whatever. Like stuff like that. And once you've got the basics down, it might dilute the value of it. So I think
Right.
I think you should always be looking to how can you change up your format. And in the case of Caleb, people have been suggesting maybe start doing grocery trips with people and showing them how to like meal prep instead of
Mm.
eating out at McDonald's all the time, or like
God, that's a fascinating concept. I
yeah,
love
or
that.
like go car shopping instead of getting these ridiculous 20% car loans. Get like a really good loan with Caleb or something. Like just slight variations, 5% changes that are still him, but it's fresh and new. And that's what I think I need to do. Like maybe change from the Minecraft talking to real life talking.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought a lot about it, and it's like if the game ever really crashes, they just release 1.21 and it's the poop update and everybody hates it. Like
Yeah.
I would probably just start doing art or something, start drawing, pursue some of my other hobbies, and see if I can see how many people stay along for the ride. It'd
Yeah.
be super interesting for sure.
I do think that when it comes to the long term success of any creator, the ones that often stand the test of time are the ones where people like it just because it's their personality and they don't really care what they're
Mhm.
making content about, because that's something that is, unbreakable. And it doesn't matter if you're making something in a certain game. The people like people will still watch PewDiePie's vlogs in Japan and he gets like millions of views on a vlog because people know it's him. It doesn't matter that it's, a seemingly basic video walking through the streets of Japan. They just like it because it's him.
A lot of the times I think about like just how grateful I am to have these problems.
I know, right? Yeah.
It's crazy how the grass is always greener, and like life has this crazy way of making sure that your problems always feel so real and so dire.
Yeah.
And I just constantly have to wake up every day and remind myself like, dude, you are doing the job you wanted to do since you were 12 years old.
Yeah.
Like I spent 10 years grinding my soul out to get here, and I finally made it happen. And like at the end of the day, as much as I can complain about the algorithm or like how hard it is to hire an editor or any of that stuff, like I'm just so happy to have these problems, man. You know what? With or without the channel, I'm gonna keep going on my flat world for at least 10 years.
Yeah. That's crazy, dude.
That's like something I've promised myself, and I'm 100% sure on that. I will not quit that world.
Dude, yeah, I watched your video about the next 10 years, and those plans sound like they'll keep you busy for 10 years.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And that's why I dream big, because otherwise like I've found that it just doesn't keep me motivated unless I have an idea that feels impossible. Like that's what motivates me, is like, can I do the impossible? We pretty much exclusively covered Minecraft YouTube, but
Yeah.
I think that's
That's
I
okay.
think that's what your podcast and your talks do really well, right? Like I saw someone in the comments was saying you're like the Colin and Samir
Yeah,
for
right.
Minecraft YouTube, and I think that's like an honestly a great niche. Like if you can keep doing these interviews, I'll listen to all of them because I just love hearing people's perspectives on what we do for a living.
Yeah, I mean, I worry at times that it's annoying to people, and my mom will remind me that not everyone wants to be a creator, and I understand that for sure. But I just think of it from the perspective of what would the younger version of myself wanted to hear, and that is, it's possible to be a creator, and it's possible to build an income out of your dream. And I think a lot of people just they kind of have that black pill attitude that it's just impossible and they can never do it when it certainly is. Like I've got a friend, he's really into poetry and he's like hinted at starting content, but he doesn't know how to do it. And I mean, I don't know how to do poetry. I don't really know what the market for that would be. But I remind him that if he's dissatisfied with his job or he doesn't feel like he's making enough money, don't count out YouTube because that has transformed my life. It's transformed your life. It's transformed so many lives. And it's possible to monetize your dream.
Yeah, absolutely. If you look at my lifetime subscribers graph or my lifetime views graph, it is literally a flat line at zero for like 10 years. And then just the biggest imaginable spike. It looks comical. It looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it's basically that meme of like the miner in the tunnel, and he's like dug this tunnel, and right behind the wall is like a bunch of gold, but he's like giving up to turn home. And it's like, there's always the sunk cost fallacy. That is a real thing. But at the same time, like if I had stopped making videos like a month before my channel, and I was thinking about it, I was really, really thinking about stopping Minecraft content forever. Like I can't imagine where I'd be right now. I would not be as happy as I am right now. So yeah, that like let that be motivation to all of you. Like for some people it happens right away. For other people it takes 10 freaking years, man. Just don't give up on your dreams.
That
Even if it's not YouTube, like it might be something completely different. Maybe you want to be an astronaut, but like like just keep working at it. You only got one shot.